chosen one. This morning, before the phone lit up, before anyone texted, before the coffee finished brewing in that same pot you've used for 20 years, heaven was already watching you. Not from a distance, close. God leaned in. And what you did, what you chose, in that small, quiet moment when nobody else was looking, went beyond every expectation. Even the angels stopped mid-flight. You don't even know what you set in motion. Let me paint the scene. Maybe you were sitting at that kitchen table, the one with the crack down the middle you keep meaning to replace. Your worn Bible open to a psalm you've read 100 times. Maybe your hands were shaking from arthritis as you whispered a prayer for the child who doesn't call anymore. Or maybe, just maybe, you swallowed the complaint about the pain shooting through your knees and chose gratitude instead. Heaven's camera was on you, and in that unremarkable, unglamorous, completely ordinary moment, you did the impossible. Listen to me. What happened this morning wasn't small, it wasn't insignificant, it wasn't forgotten the second it happened. That choice you made, the one you thought didn't matter, actually shocked the realm of darkness. It sent demons scrambling. It made the throne room erupt in holy celebration. If something deep in your spirit is stirring right now, if you feel seen, if you feel known, type these 5 words in the comments. That was me this morning. Don't scroll past this. Don't dismiss it. Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why what you did this morning rewrote your destiny, broke generational chains, and made God himself smile in ways heaven hasn't seen in years. You thought you were alone. You weren't. Heaven was recording. And what comes next will change everything. Stay with me. Let me tell you what heaven recorded this morning while you thought nobody was watching. You were sitting there, maybe at that old Formica table in your kitchen, the one you've had since 1987. The coffee was lukewarm. Your Bible was open to the same psalm you've read so many times the pages are worn thin. And something happened. Something small. Something you've already forgotten. But God hasn't. Let me paint the picture for you. See if you recognize yourself. Maybe you're the grandmother who woke up this morning and saw that text message. You know the one. From the daughter-in-law who still hasn't apologized for what she said at Thanksgiving 3 years ago. Your finger hovered over the keyboard. You had the perfect response typed out, the one that would finally set the record straight, the one that would make her understand how much she hurt you. And then you deleted it. You whispered instead, "Lord, I forgive her." Again. You thought it was just another morning. You thought nobody saw that tiny decision, but heaven erupted. Because what you did in that moment, choosing forgiveness over being right, that broke a curse that's been running in your family for 4 generations. Or maybe you're the widower, 73 years old. You still set the table for 2 out of habit. Then remember, halfway through buttering the toast, that she's been gone for 2 years now. The house is so quiet you can hear the refrigerator humming. Most mornings, that silence screams at you. But this morning, you bowed your head over that single plate and you said, "Thank you, Jesus, for another day." Even though your knees ache, even though the kids only call on Sundays if you're lucky, even though half your friends from church are already in the ground, you thanked him anyway. You didn't make a big deal out of it. But heaven did. Because gratitude in the valley carries more weight than praise on the mountaintop. Job learned that. David learned that. And this morning, you proved you understand it too. Or listen, maybe you're the one on Social Security, stretching every dollar like it's made of elastic. You saw that notification from your church's online giving page. $5. That's all you could give. You almost didn't hit send because what's $5 going to do? Some people tithe hundreds. Some people write checks with 4 zeros. But you gave it anyway. And you know what happened? The same thing that happened when the widow dropped 2 mites into the temple treasury. Jesus stopped everything he was doing to point at her. This morning, he did the same thing for you. Because the size of the gift doesn't matter when the size of the sacrifice does. Matthew 6:4 says, "Your Father sees what you do in secret," not might see, not sometimes sees, present tense, active, right now. Or maybe, and I need you to hear this, maybe you were in the middle of a phone call that was going south fast. Someone was pushing every button you've got. Your blood pressure was rising. You could feel the anger building in your chest like a fist, getting ready to punch through the conversation. And you chose silence. You chose to pray instead of going off. You chose to breathe instead of unleashing 30 years of pent-up frustration. That wasn't weakness. That was warfare. That was you taking authority over your own tongue when James himself said it's the hardest thing in the human body to control. You just did what most people can't do in a lifetime. Now here's what you need to understand. Hebrews 6:10 tells us God is not unjust to forget your work and labor of love. He doesn't overlook the small things. He doesn't miss the moments when nobody's clapping. He doesn't grade on a curve based on who's watching. You thought it was just coffee and prayer and another quiet morning. Heaven called it intercession. Heaven called it sacrifice. Heaven called it faith that moves without an audience. And here's the part that's going to wreck you. What you did this morning carries more weight in the courts of heaven than some people's entire lifetime of loud religion. More weight than the guy who prays on the street corner so everyone can see him. More weight than the woman who posts Bible verses for likes but won't speak to her own sister. Because God doesn't measure volume. He measures authenticity. He doesn't count attendance. He counts obedience. If one of these stories sounds like your morning, if you felt the Holy Spirit tap you on the shoulder just now, don't keep scrolling. Just write, "That's me," in the comments, or drop a, "It's not about me seeing it." It's about you agreeing with what heaven already said about you. Because here's what I need you to understand as we go deeper. That small morning moment you thought was nothing. It wasn't the end of something, it was the beginning. What you set in motion this morning is about to collide with what God has been preparing for years. And when those two things meet, everything changes. So stay with me, because what I'm about to show you next will explain exactly why the enemy fought so hard to stop you from doing that one simple thing this morning, and why your obedience just became his worst nightmare. Listen closely, chosen one. In the kingdom of God, what looks small on earth can be deafening in heaven. That choice you made this morning, the one you've already forgotten, the one you thought didn't count it, registered in the spirit realm with the force of thunder. While you were pouring that second cup of coffee, heaven's economy was tracking your investment. And let me tell you something that will shake you to your core. You just became one of heaven's wealthiest traders. Let me say this in plain language so there's no confusion. Jesus sat down one day across from the temple treasury. He watched the crowds streaming in, wealthy merchants dropping bags of gold, religious leaders making a show of their generosity. The coins clinked loud. Everyone noticed. Everyone applauded. Then came a widow, bent, broken, barely surviving. She dropped in 2 small copper coins. In today's money, maybe 8 cents, maybe a dime. The sound was so quiet it disappeared into the noise. Nobody turned, nobody cared, except Jesus. Mark 12:43 records what happened next. Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. More? How could 8 cents be more than thousands? Because heaven doesn't count the way Wall Street counts. Heaven doesn't measure the way Madison Avenue measures. In God's economy, the size of the gift doesn't matter. The size of the sacrifice does. That widow gave everything she had to live on. She held nothing back. She trusted God with her next meal, her next breath, her very survival. And in that moment, she became the richest person in Jerusalem. You did the same thing this morning. When you chose to pray for the child who broke your heart instead of nursing bitterness that was everything you had to give. When you whispered thank you through tears about a diagnosis that terrifies you, that was your widow's mite. When you forgave the spouse who still doesn't understand you after 47 years of marriage, heaven's stock market exploded. Humility rose in value. Obedience spiked. Quiet faith went through the roof. Jesus said it another way in Matthew 10:42. If anyone gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones, that person will certainly not lose their reward. A cup of water, 6 ounces, room temperature, nothing spectacular, but given in His name, that cup becomes eternal currency. This morning, when you chose faith over fear, love over bitterness, obedience over comfort, you weren't paying with dollars, you were trading in heaven's currency. And heaven's currency never devalues. It never crashes, it compounds for eternity. Here's what I need you to understand. You may feel pushed aside by this world. You may feel invisible in a culture that worships youth and noise and chaos. You may look at your trembling hands and think your days of significance are over. But in heaven's economy, you are still a high-value investor. Actually, you're more valuable now than you've ever been. Because you've been refined, you've been tested. You've survived losses that would have destroyed weaker souls. You've walked through valleys where others would have given up. And this morning, when you made that choice, that small, hidden, unremarkable choice, you carried 50 years of accumulated wisdom, 70 years of battle scars, decades of knowing God's faithfulness into that single moment. That's not a small investment. That's a fortune. But here's the part nobody told you. Here's the piece that will change how you see every morning for the rest of your life. The move you made this morning didn't just touch God. It didn't just register in heaven's books. It didn't just add to your eternal account. It cancelled something. It derailed a plan the enemy had been building against you for months, maybe years. You see, when you operate in heaven's economy, you're not just making deposits, you're launching strikes. Every act of faith, every choice of obedience, every whisper of gratitude when you had every reason to complain, these aren't defensive moves. They're offensive weapons. The enemy studies you. He knows your patterns. He knows what time you wake up, what triggers your anger, what memories make you spiral into regret. He sets traps at your weakest points. He waits for the moment when you'll react the way you've always reacted, when you'll choose fear the way you've always chosen fear, when you'll surrender to bitterness because that's the path you know. This morning, you broke the pattern, and when you broke it, you didn't just surprise yourself, you shocked the realm of darkness. Demons who were positioned and ready scrambled. Assignments that were locked and loaded dissolved. Attacks that were scheduled for this week, this month, this year, cancelled by the authority of your obedience. One small choice shattered an entire strategy. Now you're starting to see it, aren't you? You're starting to understand why heaven was watching so closely, why the angels leaned in, why God Himself smiled. Because what happened this morning wasn't about you trying harder or doing better. It was about you finally stepping into the fullness of who you've always been. A chosen one, an investor in eternity, a warrior who fights with weapons the world can't see. But here's the question that should be burning in your spirit right now. If one choice this morning carried that much power, what happens when you make that choice again tomorrow? Now, let me deal with something head-on because I know some of you are thinking it right now. How can God be surprised? Doesn't He know everything? Let's make this plain. Yes, God is all-knowing. He sees the beginning from the end. Nothing catches Him off guard. But here's what Scripture also shows us. God still experiences delight. He still marvels. He still responds with joy that moves heaven itself. Look at Luke chapter 7, verse 9. Jesus is walking through Capernaum when a Roman centurion, a Gentile soldier, shows faith so pure that Jesus stops in his tracks. And the Bible says this, "Marveled, the Son of God, who knows every thought before it's formed, who numbered every star and named them, marveled at human faith." Not because he didn't know it was possible, but because when it actually happened, it moved his heart. That's the language of relationship, not limitation. Think about it this way. A father knows his son can make the right choice. He's watched that boy grow up. He's seen the potential. He knows the strength buried in his DNA. But when that son finally stands up after years of falling, when he finally chooses honor after seasons of compromise, that father doesn't just nod coldly and say, I knew you'd do it." No. He jumps, he shouts, he tears up. His heart explodes with pride, not because he didn't know it could happen, but because it actually did. Or picture a coach who's trained an athlete for decades. She knows what that player is capable of. She's drilled them, pushed them, believed in them through every loss. But when that athlete finally hits the shot in the final seconds, the coach doesn't sit still. She leaps off the bench, she screams. She celebrates like it's the first time she's ever seen excellence. Because knowing potential and witnessing it fulfilled are two different fires. That's what happened this morning. Heaven knew you had a choice in front of you. The Father who formed you in the womb, who wrote every day of your life before one of them came to be, he knew the decision was coming. He knew the crossroads. He knew the pain you'd been carrying. He knew the weight pressing on your chest when you opened your eyes. But here's the shock. After everything you've been through, after all the years of disappointment, after the betrayals, the losses, the prayers that seemed to disappear into silence, after the mornings you woke up wondering if you had anything left to give, after the nights you cried yourself to sleep, asking God if he'd forgotten your name, this morning you still chose him. You still chose faith over fear. You still chose gratitude over complaint. You still chose to pray for the child who broke your heart. You still chose to forgive when bitterness would have been easier. You still chose to believe when doubt was screaming in your ear. And when you made that choice, heaven erupted. Because here's what most people don't understand. For years, hell has been counting on you reacting in the old way. The enemy studied your patterns. He knew your triggers. He knew what made you quit, what made you bitter, what made you shut down. He built entire strategies around your breaking point. This morning, you didn't break. That's the shift. That's why demons scattered. That's why the throne room shook with celebration. That's why angels who've been assigned to your life for decades looked at each other in holy wonder. You brought God joy beyond what the enemy expected from you. Let me say that again, so it sinks deep. You brought God joy beyond what the enemy expected. The devil thought he had you figured out. He thought the pain was too much. He thought the waiting was too long. He thought the silence from heaven had finally crushed your hope. He thought this morning, like so many mornings before, you'd just go through the motions, numb, empty, defeated. But you didn't. You rose. You prayed. You believed. You chose. And in that moment, you didn't just surprise the enemy. You delighted the heart of the Father. This is what Zephaniah 3:17 is talking about when it says, "The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. He will take great delight in you. In his love he will no longer rebuke you, but will rejoice over you with singing." Rejoice over you with singing. God doesn't sing over mediocrity. God doesn't celebrate routine. God sings when his children do the impossible, when they rise after being knocked down, when they choose light in the middle of crushing darkness, when they speak life when death surrounds them. That's what you did this morning. And if you're sitting there thinking, "But I didn't do anything big. I just prayed. I just chose not to complain. I just got out of bed," then you're missing the whole point. In the kingdom, the small obediences in hidden places carry more weight than the loud performances on public stages. What you did this morning wasn't small, it was seismic. So now the question becomes, what happens next? If one quiet choice this morning moved heaven and shocked hell, what could a life of those choices do? What could happen if you kept choosing this way? Now let me show you what was really happening this morning while you thought you were alone. Before you even opened your eyes, the enemy already had a script written for your day. He knows your patterns. He knows what hits you hardest at 6 a.m. when the house is quiet and your body aches before your feet even touch the floor. His script for you this morning was simple. Complain about the pain shooting through your lower back. Rehearse the regret about the daughter who moved 3 states away and never calls. Scroll through your phone in numb silence, watching other people's lives while yours feels stuck. Let bitterness about what you lost, your health, your spouse, your purpose, become the first words you speak to yourself. That was his plan. But God also had a script. His script said, whisper, thank you even though your knees hurt. Pray for the child who forgot your birthday. Open that worn Bible one more time, even though you've read those Psalms so many times the pages are tissue thin. Choose gratitude when complaining would have been easier. Choose blessing when cursing felt justified. 2 scripts, 2 destinies, 1 choice. Think of it like this. It was like 2 radio stations fighting for your ear the exact second you woke up. One station was static, chaos, accusation, despair. The other was clear, steady, filled with the voice of the Father saying, I still have plans for you. 2 weather systems colliding directly over your soul. One dark and stormy, one bright and clear as a Sunday morning in spring. And right there, in the middle of that spiritual collision, with arthritis in your hands and loneliness pressing on your chest like a stone, you made a quiet choice. You chose God's script. Do you understand what that means? Do you hear me? With all that weight on you, chronic pain that won't quit, the empty chair at the dinner table, the phone that doesn't ring, the mirror that shows you a face you barely recognize anymore. With all of that crushing down on you this morning, you still said, thank you, Lord. You could have complained, but you didn't. You could have cursed the pain, but you didn't. You could have let bitterness win, but you didn't. You could have given up on prayer because it feels like God stopped listening years ago, but you didn't. You could have thrown that Bible across the room and said, what's the point? But you didn't. You didn't. The book of Ephesians tells us, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age. Ephesians 6:12. That wasn't poetry this morning. That was your reality. There was a principality assigned to your morning, a demonic force that had one job: make sure you start your day in defeat. And you shattered his assignment with one whispered prayer. Heaven watched it happen. The enemy watched it happen. And I'm telling you right now, what you did this morning sent shockwaves through the unseen realm. Because here's the truth most preachers won't tell you. Your morning routine is a battlefield. The enemy doesn't wait until you're at church to attack you. He attacks you at 5:47 a.m. when you're alone, tired, and nobody's watching. He attacks when you're weak, when you're forgotten, when you feel like your best years are buried in a cemetery plot next to someone you loved. That's when he strikes. But this morning, you struck back. You didn't need a stadium. You didn't need a stage. You didn't need anyone to applaud. You just needed to say one thing to God in that kitchen, in that bedroom, in that quiet corner of your life where nobody sees you anymore. And God heard it. Listen to me carefully. If you're still here right now, this word is marking you. This isn't entertainment. This is assignment. I need you to do something. Write these 5 words in the comments. I choose God's script. Don't just watch. Don't just listen. Participate in what heaven is doing with you today. Type it. Declare it. Let your fingers become your agreement with what the Spirit is saying. Do it now, because what I'm about to tell you next will blow your mind. That choice you made this morning, the one you thought was small, insignificant, unnoticed, unlocked something in the realm of the Spirit that's been locked for years, maybe decades. Your next chapter just got rewritten. The door you thought was closed forever, it's cracking open. The blessing you stopped believing for, it just shifted into motion. The miracle you buried under disappointment, heaven just issued the resurrection order. And it all started this morning when you chose God's script over the enemy's lies. So stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what this morning's decision unlocked over the next season of your life. It's bigger than you think, and you need to hear every word. Chosen one, let me ask you something that might sting a little. How many mornings have you opened your eyes in the last 10 years, 20 years, maybe even 50 years, and felt that same familiar weight settle on your chest before your feet even touch the floor? That dread, that whisper that says, here we go again. For decades, your mornings have started the same way, replaying the betrayal from 30 years ago, rehearsing the conversation with the child who walked away, counting pennies in your mind before you've even had your coffee, convinced there will never be enough money, never be enough time, never be enough healing. You've been living inside 3 unbreakable cycles, and you didn't even know their names. The first cycle: fear and anxiety about the future. Every single morning, your mind races to worst-case scenarios. What if my health fails? What if the money runs out? What if I die alone? That fear has become your alarm clock. It wakes you up before the sun does. The second cycle: bitterness and replaying old betrayals. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The friend who turned their back on you in 1987. The spouse who said those words you can never unhear. The family member who stole what was rightfully yours. You've been chewing on that poison for so long, it tastes like breakfast. The third cycle: the poverty mindset, the belief that nothing good is ever coming. You've trained yourself not to hope too hard because hope has disappointed you before. You've learned to expect the bills, the bad news, the letdowns. Expecting anything good feels foolish at your age. These cycles didn't start with you. They were handed down. Your grandmother lived in them. Your father died in them. And somewhere deep inside, you believed you would too. But this morning, something cracked. You didn't break the whole pattern. I'm not going to lie to you and say one morning undid 50 years, but you cracked it. And chosen one, a crack in a dam doesn't look like much at first. It's just a hairline fracture in concrete. But once that crack appears, water starts pushing through, pressure builds, and eventually the whole structure has to give way. That's what happened this morning. You pulled one brick out of a prison wall you've lived behind for years. Maybe you whispered a prayer of gratitude instead of complaint. Maybe you forgave someone in your heart without them even knowing. Maybe you chose to believe just for 5 minutes that God still has something good planned for you. One brick, but heaven saw it. And heaven knows what one brick means when it's been cemented in place for decades. Listen to me carefully. At your age, the world tells you patterns are fixed. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's just how I am. I'm too old to change now. The culture writes you off. Even the church sometimes pats you on the head and says, "Just hold on, sister. Just endure, brother. Your reward is in heaven." But the God you serve is still in the business of late-in-life miracles. Abraham was 75 when God called him to start over. Moses was 80 when he stood before Pharaoh. Sarah laughed at 90 because the promise seemed impossible, but she held Isaac anyway. You've seen a lot. You've survived a lot. Wars, losses, disappointments that would have buried a weaker soul. And that's exactly why this morning mattered so much. Because you didn't crack that cycle as a naive 20-year-old who hasn't been tested yet. You cracked it as someone who's been through hell and still chose heaven. That carries weight. That carries authority. The enemy thought he had you locked in. He thought if he could just keep you repeating the same patterns long enough, you'd die in them. He thought fear would own your final years. He thought bitterness would poison your last chapter. He thought poverty, spiritual, emotional, financial would be your legacy. But this morning, you said no. And, chosen one, I need you to understand something that will shake you to your core. The move you made this morning was not just for you. It was for your children. And their children. You shifted the storyline of your whole bloodline. Every generational curse that's been riding your family for 100 years felt that crack. Every demon assigned to keep your lineage small, broke, and bitter felt the tremor. You didn't just change your mourning. You changed the trajectory of everyone who carries your blood. Your granddaughter who struggles with anxiety. She's going to feel a shift she can't explain. Your son who can't seem to break the cycle of lack. Doors are about to open that have been bolted shut. The great-grandchildren you haven't even met yet, they're going to inherit freedom you fought for in your kitchen this morning. That's the power of a late-in-life breakthrough. It doesn't just bless you, it rewrites the future. Proverbs 13:22 says, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children." You thought that meant money, but it means legacy. It means freedom. It means patterns broken and blessings released. This morning, you became a good man. You became a good woman. You became the hinge generation. Now, I'm going to show you 3 specific areas where you're about to see quiet, undeniable changes because of what you did this morning. And these aren't vague spiritual ideas. These are real, tangible shifts you'll recognize within days. Stay with me, because what's coming next will prove that heaven didn't just notice what you did. Heaven is already responding. Chosen one, something shifted this morning that you didn't see with your natural eyes. But I need you to understand this. When you move with God, even in the smallest, most hidden acts of obedience, doors move with you. Not metaphorical doors, real ones. Doors in the spirit realm that have been rusted shut for years. Doors that have resisted your prayers, your tears, your pleading. Doors you stopped believing would ever open again. This morning, when you made that choice nobody witnessed, heaven issued new keys. And I'm about to show you 3 specific doors that are already beginning to crack open in your life. But first, let me ask you something that might sting a little. How long have you been waiting for things to get better? How many mornings have you woken up carrying the same weight, praying the same prayers, wondering if God even remembers your name? Be honest, because that doubt, that feeling of being forgotten, is exactly what the enemy has been using to keep these doors locked. Until this morning. Door number 1, inner peace that doesn't make sense. You know that chaos in your mind, the thoughts that loop at 3 a.m., the worry that grips you the second you open your eyes, the mental noise that's been your unwanted companion for so long you've forgotten what quiet feels like. It's breaking. Paul wrote in Philippians 4-7 about a peace that surpasses all understanding. Most people read right past that word, surpasses. They don't stop to realize what it means. It means peace that exists in conditions where peace has no business existing. Peace in the middle of financial pressure. Peace when the doctor's report is bad. Peace when your children have walked away. Peace that looks at your circumstances and says, I don't care what you look like, I'm staying anyway. That kind of peace doesn't come from positive thinking. It doesn't come from meditation apps or breathing exercises. It comes from obedience that heaven notices. And chosen one, in the coming days, maybe even today, you're going to notice something strange. The spiral you usually fall into, it won't pull you down as far. The anxiety that typically paralyzes you by noon, it'll hit a wall it's never hit before. You'll catch yourself mid-worry and think, wait, why am I not panicking right now? That's not you getting stronger on your own. That's door number 1 opening. That's the peace of God standing guard over your mind like a sentinel, and it's a direct result of what you did this morning when nobody was watching. But here's what I need you to hear. This peace isn't passive, it's aggressive, it's militant. It will fight for space in your mind. And if you've been living with mental torment for years, this is the sign you've been begging God for. Door number 2, restored or softened relationships. Now we're stepping into tender territory. Because I know some of you are carrying wounds from people you used to love. Your son who moved across the country and calls twice a year if you're lucky. Your daughter who said things she can't take back. The friend who walked away without explanation. The spouse whose heart went cold. You've prayed for reconciliation until you ran out of words. You've forgiven them 70 times 7, and then some, and still silence. But what if I told you that this morning's obedience just shifted something in the spiritual realm concerning that person? What if the very moment you chose gratitude over bitterness or prayer over complaint, heaven dispatched angels to begin softening hearts that have been stone for years? You might get a phone call out of nowhere, a text that says, I've been thinking about you. A moment of unexpected tenderness from someone who's been cold. Or maybe, and this is just as powerful, your own heart softens toward them. Even without contact, even without apology, you feel the bitterness drain out of you like poison leaving a wound. That's not coincidence. That's door number 2. That's God beginning to restore what the enemy tried to destroy. And it starts not when they change, but when you obey. Jesus said in Matthew 5-9, Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Notice he didn't say, blessed are the ones who wait for others to apologize first. He said, peacemakers, the ones who initiate, the ones who soften first. And this morning, whether you knew it or not, you became a peacemaker. And heaven is about to honor that. Door number 3, strange provision and timely help. Let's talk about the practical. Because some of you are worried about money right now. You're worried about bills, medication, rent, groceries. You're doing math at the kitchen table that doesn't add up no matter how many times you try. And you're wondering if God sees. He does. And I'm not going to stand here and promise you a lottery ticket. I'm not going to tell you $1 million is about to fall from the sky. That's not how God usually works, and you know it. But what I am telling you is this. God has a way of quietly rearranging things for his faithful ones. A way of making small financial relief appear right when you need it. A medical result that comes back better than the doctor expected. Help from a neighbor, a church member, a stranger who shows up at exactly the right moment with exactly what you need. Psalm 37:25 says, I was young, and now I am old, yet I have never seen the righteous forsaken, or their children begging bread. David wrote that after a lifetime of watching God provide, not always extravagantly, not always early, but always enough, always on time. Chosen one, in the coming days, watch for the unexpected. Watch for the provision that makes no logical sense. Watch for the help that arrives just in time. Because this morning, you planted a seed of obedience. And God doesn't let seeds like that go unrewarded. Many of you are going to recognize these doors opening in real time. You're going to see it and think, that video, that word. And when you do, I need you to come back here and tell us in the comments. Not for me, for the other chosen one sitting alone right now who feels forgotten, who needs to hear that God is still moving. Because here's the truth that's about to wreck you in the best way. You thought your story was winding down. You thought your best years were behind you. You thought God was done writing chapters in your life. But heaven is saying, I'm just now beginning to reward mornings like this. So tell me, are you ready to walk through these doors? Now listen carefully, chosen one. This is where most people lose everything. You made a move this morning that shook heaven. You set something in motion that the enemy did not see coming. And right now, right this second, he is scrambling to undo it. He can't reverse what God recorded, but he can trick you into abandoning it yourself. This is the part they don't teach you in Sunday school. The part most preachers skip over because it's uncomfortable. The breakthrough you experienced this morning, it has a target on it. And if you don't protect it, you will wake up 3 days from now wondering why the fire went out. So here's what you need to understand. The enemy doesn't attack what doesn't matter. He only comes after what threatens him, and what you did this morning terrified him. Let me ask you something. How many times have you felt God move in your life, only to lose it by the end of the week? How many altar moments evaporated by Tuesday? How many answered prayers got buried under worry by Wednesday afternoon? That stops today, because I'm about to give you 4 instructions, simple, practical, battle-tested, that will guard what heaven started in you this morning. These aren't theories, these are weapons. And if you apply them, what you started today will compound into something unstoppable. First, repeat the choice tomorrow. Proverbs 4:18 says, "The path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day." Notice that. Morning sun, not a one-time explosion, a steady rise. You don't have to move mountains tomorrow. You don't have to perform miracles. You just have to make the same choice you made this morning, one more time, and then again the day after that. The enemy wants you to think that because you did it once, it's finished. No, what you did this morning was the first brick. Now you build. Brick by brick, morning by morning. Most believers don't fail because they lack power. They fail because they lack repetition. They treat breakthrough like an event instead of a pattern. But God is looking for consistency, not fireworks. So tomorrow morning, when your body aches and your mind is tired and the voice whispers, You already did this yesterday. That's when you do it again. That's when you prove to heaven you're serious. Second, guard your mouth. Proverbs 18:21 declares, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue. You cannot build with your mouth in the morning and tear down with your mouth in the afternoon. You cannot pray faith at sunrise and speak defeat by sunset." Your tongue is either constructing your future or demolishing it. There is no neutral. Here's what happens. You wake up, you choose God, you feel His presence, you speak life. And then by 2 p.m. someone irritates you, the pain flares up, the bills arrive, and suddenly you're complaining, criticizing, cursing the very day you blessed 6 hours earlier. Stop it. James 3:10 says, "Out of the same mouth come praise and cursing." My brothers and sisters, this should not be. If you spoke gratitude this morning, don't speak bitterness this afternoon. If you declared victory at dawn, don't announce defeat by dusk. Guard your mouth like it's the door to your destiny, because it is. The enemy knows he can't stop your prayers, so he provokes your words. He can't undo your worship, so he triggers your complaints. Don't give him access. Third, stay quiet when needed. Ecclesiastes 3:7 says there is a time to be silent and a time to speak. Not every victory needs to be announced. Not every breakthrough requires a press release. Some of the most powerful moves of God happen in absolute silence. You know what kills more miracles than doubt? Premature celebration. Announcing what God is doing before it's fully formed. Telling people who aren't spiritually mature enough to handle it. Seeking validation from voices that don't carry heaven's frequency. When Mary conceived Jesus, she didn't run through the streets shouting. She pondered these things in her heart. She protected the miracle by staying quiet. There are people in your life right now who will celebrate you to your face and curse you behind your back. There are voices that will say Amen in public and summon doubt in private. Discernment means knowing when to share and when to shield. Some breakthroughs grow best in silence. Let them. Fourth, keep a simple record. Psalm 103:2 says, "Forget not all His benefits." The enemy's greatest weapon is your forgetfulness. He knows if he can make you forget what God did yesterday, you won't trust Him for tomorrow. So write it down. Not a novel, just a line. One sentence. Today I chose gratitude over complaining. Today I prayed instead of panicked. Today I forgave when bitterness felt easier. Do this every day. And at the end of the month, when doubt whispers that nothing is changing, you'll have 30 lines of evidence proving otherwise. You'll see the pattern. You'll see the progress. You'll see God's faithfulness written in your own handwriting. Memory fades, but ink endures. Now, before we go any further, I want you to pray this with me, out loud if you can. Whisper it if you must. But say it. Lord, help me tomorrow morning to choose you again. Even when I'm tired, even when I'm hurting, don't let me lose what we started today. Guard my mouth, guard my heart, guard my mornings. In Jesus' name, if you prayed that, type "I prayed it" in the comments. Let heaven see your agreement. Because here's the truth, chosen one. What you protect today becomes your inheritance tomorrow. And in just a moment, I'm going to speak a blessing over you, over your mornings, from this day forward. Don't miss that part. Chosen one, stop right there. I need you to hear something that's going to shake the lies you've been carrying for years. Something the enemy has whispered to you every morning when you wake up stiff. Every afternoon when the phone doesn't ring. Every evening when you sit alone at that table, meant for a family that's scattered across 3 states. You are not a burden. You are not leftover time. You are not the forgotten generation sitting on the sidelines while the world rushes past. You are God's morning surprise. Let that sink in. This morning, when you woke up, when your knees cracked getting out of bed, when you shuffled to the kitchen in those same slippers you've worn thin, when you poured that coffee and sat in silence because there was no one there to talk to, heaven erupted in anticipation. Not pity, not sympathy, anticipation, because God knows something about you that the world has forgotten. You are not past your prime in the Spirit. You are in seasoned territory now. Listen to me carefully. The world measures value by productivity, by how fast you move, by how much you earn, by how relevant you are on social media. But heaven measures value by faithfulness. And you, chosen one, have been faithful when no one was watching. You have been faithful when your body started betraying you. You have been faithful when your children moved away and forgot to call on your birthday. That faithfulness this morning, that prayer you whispered over a child who doesn't even know you're praying, that moment you chose gratitude instead of bitterness when the pain shot through your hip, heaven recorded it. God leaned forward. The angels took notes. Because what you carry now is something the young cannot possess. Proof. You are living proof that God keeps His promises. You are walking evidence that faith survives decades. You are breathing testimony that nothing, not age, not loss, not loneliness, not even the slow betrayal of your own body, can separate you from the love of Christ. Romans 8:38-39 says it plain. Neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation, will be able to separate us from the love of God. You are not separated. You are not discarded. You are not obsolete. Heaven does not see you as used up. Heaven sees you as proven. Think about this. Old trees bear the sweetest fruit. The oldest vines produce the finest wine. The most weathered lighthouses save the most ships. You don't have to move anymore to matter. Your light, the very presence of God shining through the cracks of your brokenness, is saving people you will never meet. That grandchild watching you pray, you're teaching them faith looks like. That neighbor who sees you still getting up every morning with a smile despite the arthritis, you're showing them hope has a face. That stranger in the grocery store you smiled at when your back was screaming, you just became the only Jesus they saw that day. You are not useless. You are a weapon heaven is still deploying. But I know what you're feeling. I know the lies that wake you up at 3 a.m. The ones that whisper, you're a burden to your kids. You're taking up space. You should have done more when you were younger. It's too late now. Those are lies straight from the pit of hell. God is not done writing your story. Psalm 92:14 declares, they will still bear fruit in old age. They will stay fresh and green. Fresh, green, fruitful. That's you, right now, this morning, this moment. What you did this morning was heaven's reminder to every demon that tried to bury you. You're still in the story. God is still authoring your chapters. And the best parts? They haven't even been written yet. I'm going to speak something over you right now, and I need you to receive it, not with your mind, with your spirit. I declare peace over your mornings, that the moment you open your eyes, you will feel heaven watching you with delight, not disappointment. I declare clarity over your mind, that the fog of forgetfulness, the confusion, the moments when you can't find the words, God will cut through it with supernatural sharpness when it matters most. I declare strength in your soul, not the strength to run marathons or climb mountains, but the strength to stand when everything in you wants to sit down. The strength to believe when everything around you says give up. The strength to whisper, yes, Lord, one more time. Because that's what you did this morning. You said yes, again. And heaven will never stop celebrating that. You are not past your expiration date. You are not wasting space. You are not invisible. You are God's morning surprise, His secret weapon, His faithful remnant, His seasoned soldier, His lighthouse in the storm. And what you're about to discover next will prove it. Because this morning didn't just shift your day, it shifted your destiny. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will show you exactly what heaven set in motion the moment you made that choice. Chosen one, we've walked a long road together in these minutes, and now we stand at the edge of something sacred, something that will determine not just tomorrow morning, but every morning after that. I need you to be honest with yourself right now. No performance, no religious mask, just you and the God who watched you this morning. Here's the truth. Some of you listening have drifted. You used to pray every morning without thinking twice. You used to open that Bible like it was oxygen. But somewhere along the way, maybe after the diagnosis, maybe after the funeral, maybe after the betrayal, you stopped. Not because you stopped believing, but because you stopped expecting God to show up. And this morning, something stirred. Something you can't explain. You did one small thing. Maybe you whispered his name. Maybe you didn't curse when the pain hit. Maybe you chose gratitude over bitterness and heaven erupted. That wasn't coincidence. That was God saying, I'm still here, and I'm not done with you. If that's you, if you've been away, but something in your spirit knows this morning was a turning point, I want to pray with you right now. Don't wait. Don't say later. Heaven is leaning in this very second. Repeat these words with me, out loud or in your heart. Father, I've been far from you. I've been tired. I've been hurt. But this morning, you saw me. You didn't give up on me, so I'm coming back. I'm surrendering my mornings to you. I'm surrendering my pain to you. I'm surrendering my future to you. Forgive me, restore me, use me, in Jesus' name. Amen. If you just prayed that prayer, write in the comments, I'm back. 2 words, that's all. Let heaven record it. Let this community witness it. Because when you declare it, something shifts in the atmosphere around your life. Now, listen closely. This isn't just about one morning. This is about every morning from this point forward. Because the enemy knows what happens when God's people consecrate their mornings. He knows that the first hour determines the rest of the day. He knows that if he can steal your morning, he can steal your peace, your clarity, your power. But you're not giving him that victory anymore. So I'm asking you to make a covenant right here, right now, not with me, with God. If you're committing your mornings to him, if you're saying, God, before I check my phone, before I turn on the news, before I worry about my body or my bills, I'm giving you the first moment, then write this in the comments. My mornings belong to God. Type it. Declare it. Let it be a stake in the ground that the enemy can't move. Because here's what's coming. When you start giving God your mornings, he starts giving you his favor. When you start meeting him before you meet the world, he starts rearranging the world to meet you. Doors you didn't knock on will open. People you've been praying for will call. Provision you didn't see coming will show up at your door. This isn't hype. This is covenant. And covenant always produces fruit. Now, if this message reached you, if it felt like God was speaking directly to your life, don't keep it to yourself. Click that like button right now. Not for me, for the algorithm that will push this message to someone else who's about to give up. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't, because I'm not stopping. Every message we release is designed to pull you deeper into your destiny, to remind you that you're not forgotten, that heaven is still moving on your behalf. And here's what I need you to do. Share this video with one person, one family member, one friend who's been struggling, one person who woke up this morning thinking it didn't matter. Send them this link and say, watch this, it's for you, because your obedience to share could be the very thing that saves someone's life. Before we close, let me tell you what's coming next. In the next message, I'm going to reveal what happens when God starts sending people into your life because of the quiet choices you make in the morning. You think this morning was powerful? Wait until you see what God does when he starts aligning divine appointments around your obedience. You don't want to miss that. It's going to blow your mind. But tonight, before you lay your head down, I want you to rest in this truth. Heaven noticed your morning. The Father saw what you did. The angels recorded it, and hell trembled because of it. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are not too old, too tired, or too late. You are chosen. You are anointed, and your mornings from this day forward belong to the God who smiled over you today. Sleep well, beloved. Tomorrow morning, He'll be waiting for you again, and so will I.